Hey teacher friends, we are back in NotebookLM to pick up where we left off after our introduction to NotebookLM, and we are building some resources here for the grade 7 new social studies curriculum coming out, and we're looking at the time and place unit of study within that new curriculum. So we created this little textbook over here. It's a Google Doc. It's 12 pages long, and we did it in Gemini. Could also be done in here using what's called deep research, which gave us the references for where it got all of the data from to create this 12-page document for us. Then we loaded the document into NotebookLM, and we've created a podcast with it. We've created some flashcards with it, and we've created some slides. So just to review what we did with this in the last video, I'm going to play a little bit of the podcast so we can hear how that sounds.
Which led to things like the Cypress Hills massacre.
Precisely. That violence was the final push. The government realized it had to project federal power and fast, or risk losing the West. And that's what led to the creation of the Northwest Mounted Police, the end of...
Okay, so you hear that there's a couple people talking. That was all created by AI. Now, there's this new thing, not new since I did the last video, but new in the last couple of months called interactive mode with that podcast. So let's take a little look at that. Let's click on interactive mode. And I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to click the join button when I want to join the discussion.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are jumping into something that on the surface feels like a really surprising historical link.
It's a connection. Whoa, did someone just break the fourth wall? Let's hear it.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. We are doing great. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely wonderful. We're excited to have you listening in today.
That's the best way to start a deep dive, with a little friendly check-in.
It is. We appreciate you joining us on this journey.
Now, where were we? Ah, yes.
It was a connection most people wouldn't make, I think.
Exactly. We are looking at how a group of policemen on horseback,
The original Mounties,
and the soldiers fighting in the trenches of World War I,
they became the unexpected architects of Canada's independence. Oh, back to our listener. What's up?
When was World War I?
That is a great question that leads us right into the heart of the timeline.
Absolutely. We're talking about the years 1914 to 1918.
The war officially began on August 4th, 1914.
And it concluded on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918.
That's why we observe Remembrance Day on November 11th.
When Britain declared war.
So you can see I can ask it questions. Now, anytime we're talking about generative AI in this current era of AI, we do have to be aware that it can make mistakes. But honestly, middle school kids, that's their jam. They love poking holes in stuff. And so to have them join a conversation, they're going to push the limits of the tool, which they should be doing. We should all be doing that because we can have really powerful conversations about what it got wrong just as much as we can have conversations around what it got right. Now, I haven't heard anything yet in this NotebookLM creation that I've been doing in the last couple of days that has given me pause. It seems to be very well sourced and very accurate. So I've got a podcast here. I can use it to open the unit with kids. I could use it as kind of a last closing of the unit. I could use it both ways, or I can share it through Google Classroom and let kids have the opportunity to engage with it. So that's our podcast. That was the audio overview. Then we did some flashcards with this button. So if we go in, it's created 62 cards. And so if I click through, lots of questions about this particular unit of study and the outcomes. So in what year did the Northwest Mounted Police gain the Royal prefix, becoming the Royal Northwest Mounted Police? 1904. And then we can go on to the next one. These can be downloaded as well, so it's not necessarily stuck inside of NotebookLM. So there's our flashcards. So let's just take this studio link and let's take a quick look at the slide deck that NotebookLM created for us yesterday. So I could use this to teach the content in my classroom. And it was generated, you can see down in the bottom, NotebookLM. It's branded as that's where this came from. It did all of the images, it did all of the text, and it did all of the layout. So it created this beautiful slideshow for me while I was doing some other things. Today, I want to take a look at a few more of the assets that we can have access to inside of NotebookLM, and we're going to start with the video overview. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to let it create a video overview. I'm going to time how long it takes, and I will make a note of that when I edit this video. So you've got some idea how long you need to plan for to let it make a video overview for you. Okay, it's generating. We'll see how long it takes. Okay, so we've got our video created. Let's take a look and see what it gave us. So it's an 8-minute video. Let's have a peek.
Today, we're diving into a really critical period in Canadian history. Those 64 years that took Canada from being this sprawling British colony and turned it into an independent country. And believe me, this was not a simple handover of power. No, it was a story forged in the fires of internal conflict, global wars, and the really
let's just pull it forward and see what else it's got in the way of imagery.
And the fear, the unspoken fear, was pretty clear. If Canada couldn't control its own territory, the United States might just decide to do it for them. So what does the government do? Well, they come up with a pretty bold and immediate solution. Create a paramilitary police force. And that...
Okay, so that's super interesting. We've got a video. Got the ability to download it, so it doesn't have to stay in NotebookLM. I could download it and put it to a YouTube channel or embed it into a Google Slides, whatever I kind of had in mind for it. I can change the name of it as well. So let's go back to Studio and let's see what mind map gives us. Okay, we've got a mind map now. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, we move that over. All right, so it has divided it into a number of miniature kind of subcategories. Okay, and then we can follow through as to what things were impacted by each one. So this is pretty cool. And again, it's able to be downloaded. So let's download it. It's going to produce it as an image file. So it's got a .png there. That's an image file. So we've got now an image of this that we could embed into something else. I can zoom it in and zoom it out. So there, I'm zooming it down. I'm just using my mouse, the wheel on my mouse, but I could do it with the plus and minus down here as well. And so we can continue to expand this out. So here exists an interactive mind map to assist with planning or learning or whatever you've got going on in your class. So that's pretty cool. Let's go back to Studio and see what else we could do. Let's do an infographic. We're down to the last couple things that are built right in, but let's see what we get. Okay, so now we have an infographic. Let's take a look at what we've got. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? So we've got a little timeline here. We've got some images. We've got laying the foundation, then we get into the 1800s. I'm not sure why these arrows are going this way. I feel like they should be going the other way. So I could take that into Canva and I could try and cover over that if I wanted to. I feel like that's maybe an error. But I could download the image, and I suspect this will be a PNG again for this one. So, yep, PNG. It's really quite a nice graphic. I wonder if we could have it try again. Let's try and do another one and see what happens. Okay, it'll generate a second one. So there's the first infographic, and you can see that the icon here matches the icon here. Same with the mind map, the icon matches. So even if you can't quite tell which is which, you can consult from up here that this one is the video overview, this one is the slide deck, this one is flashcards. Okay, so we have another infographic created. Let's see how this one looks. Let's compare it to what it created previously. Okay, that to me looks better. I don't see the arrows pointing the way. I like this one better. It's got laying the foundation, following through chronologically out to Vimy Ridge here and Statute of Westminster. I like this a lot better than I like the first one. And so that just goes to show the evidence of the fact that we do need to have human eyes on things. But what it created for me here in a matter of just a couple minutes is far more beautiful than anything I could create using graphics tools. And I can create a few things using graphic tools. So I sit here with somebody who could do this in Photoshop, but recognizing that would take me half a day to build something like this in Photoshop. So to have a tool that can create this for us in a matter of a few minutes, and sure, I had to generate it twice. So I would go and I would just delete this one now, because that one I didn't like it as much. So I'm just going to get rid of it. And I can rename these if I want, all those kinds of things. So we've only got a couple things left to play with here. So let's hit reports and see what we get when we do a report in NotebookLM. Okay, and I can choose from some different types of formats. So let's do a historical narrative and see what we get from that one. Okay, let's take a look at this report that it has generated for us. Okay, so introduction. Well, isn't this interesting? So we've got another piece of data to bring to the classroom as part of this unit. And you can see down here I have the ability to indicate back to Google, because they're tracking this. The goal on their end is to have increasingly more good reports than bad reports as they refine and continue to train the models. So I would highly encourage you, as you get good ones or bad ones, to utilize that feature as it works for you. Okay, so the last thing we can do in here is the quiz. So let's have it generate an AI interactive quiz based off the source. And if I had more sources in here, it would utilize all of the sources to create this. So let's click on that and have it generate a quiz for us. Okay, let's take a look at the quiz that it has created here for us. Okay, 12 questions, multiple choice, and we can access a hint. So according to the textbook, which is this document, what was the primary purpose for the establishment of the NWMP in 1873? And so we've got our choices. I'm just going to pick one at random here and see what it does. No, it tells us that D was the correct answer, and it explains why. We'll go to the next one. What major event in 1920 led to the creation of Royal Canadian Mounted Police as a national force? So let's just pick one at random here and see what we get. No, it was A. Okay, and so we continue to go through it. So there I got one, that's right, and it reinforces why that was right, and I can have it give me a little explanation over here in a little bit more depth that may tell me why that exactly is the right question. There's an excellent question for quiz, and you chose the correct answer, and then it gives some information. So I think over the course of these last couple of videos, we've had a chance to take a look at NotebookLM here and really had an opportunity to see how many things can be created for a new curriculum within just the confines of Google's NotebookLM. This is an incredible resource for teachers, and I would highly recommend that you play around with it a little bit. This has been actually a very fun couple of videos to create. It's been really interesting to see what it can come up with, and I look forward to hearing from you as to what kinds of things you were able to make using these tools that have really helped your practice of teaching. So that's it for this video on NotebookLM. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm here to help.